Now, this is one of the videos I was hoping I'd never have to make. Of course, if you watched the video before this, you know, we went through some gravel, lost the front end. I've got it on video. It's on the end of the video previous to this. Do not want to play that video over and over again. Number one. Number two, I have a lifetime of fixing stuff that's broken, crashed, so this is not, I'm not out of my comfort zone here. It's just going to eat up a couple of weeks of what time I was hoping I'd be riding. Here we have what I waited for all winter, an empty workbench except for Glenn's project, and within a couple hours the FZR is going to be back up here because of the crash damage. So here's what I wanted to say. There's always something you have to look back at and try to make the most out of. What I always try to do, I have a problem, and I've had many of my whole life, accidents, mistakes, whatever, paint that doesn't dry, whatever. But the point is, I sent out an email the first day to all my friends, be careful of that gravel at the bottom of the hill. Well, hopefully nobody else will do that. A lot of times I have to fix their bike anyway when they do it. So that's number one. Maybe I'm doing it selfishly, I don't know. Number two, share it on the internet, share it. We're going to share it on YouTube. We've already shared the crash. I had the camera running while it happened. So, and part of it is, here's exactly what happened for anybody who doesn't really, if you've watched the video and you can't really figure out what happened. We had gone to the market meetup with the brand new bike, 800 restoration hours. Everybody enjoyed seeing the bike. It was a lot of fun. You know, it's just for fun we do this anyway. Mark and I rode up to Perkins. We had a sweet ride up there. We almost wore out the radar detector with so many cops on the parkway, but we got there. We hung out for a while. Jose came up, joined us. And when I was up there, and I was getting ready to leave anyway, the phone rang. Karen had told me the baby is in the hospital. Please get home as soon as possible. So now what happens is my mind is not in, maybe if I had a bigger brain, this wouldn't have happened. I kind of rushed things. I rushed putting my helmet on. I rushed putting the gloves on. I raced to the bottom of the hill. And when I got to the bottom of the hill, as you see on the video, there was a bicycle accident. That distracted me even more. And I got to the bottom of the turn, and all I was thinking of, I hope the baby's okay. I hope they're, boom, and the bike is over. My fault. It's nobody's fault, and I always want to take responsibility for the things I do wrong. Take the responsibility, pass on the information, hope you can save somebody else's bacon. But now it's time to fix the motorcycle. Now, I'm pretty good at doing this for one reason. When I was building and flying model planes, I crashed a lot of planes. In the world of model airplanes, I even wrote columns for magazines on how to repair planes and how to do the paint work. So I'm not out of my comfort zone. The zone I'm out of right now is that the baby was released from the hospital. He's home doing fine. He's going for more testing. But this is really the beginning of the riding season. I was hoping to get a lot more riding in, but I love this bike so much, and I enjoyed the ride up there. This is the big thing. The bike with the new front end and the new paint, I felt like a kid again. I felt like the way I feel when I ride the RD. So, what I wanted to share here is I'm going to go about the repair over the next, I don't know how many, you never know how many hours go into this. A lot are going to go into this repair. But I'm doing it knowing that when I'm done with this repair, no matter how much time or money, I've got to buy another muffler. The muffler's wiped out. The front fairing's got to be redone. The side fairing's got to be redone. One side of the fairing can be saved. But luckily, I bought a lot of tape. I still have enough paint, I hope, to do this repair. And when John made the decals, John Pathia, we always agree, always make extra decals. You'll see why in the next couple of days. Of course, it's even better if you don't have any problems. But so I wanted to do an intro to this part of the video. The next couple of videos, or who knows how many. At this time of the year, we're usually out riding. Well, this year may be a little different, because I want to get this bike back. I really did enjoy having that bike back and all polished up and with the new front end and the nice shiny wheels. So I'm really inspired now. I'm stoked. I'm going to go out to the garage. And all night I've been thinking about how I'm going to do this, because this is going to be a difficult job. This is not a job I think everybody in the world would or should try to do. But I'm going to try to do it. So part of my personality makeup is always, when I'm going to do painting, I'm going to have the paint gun out, I'm going to have to go set the work table up, I may as well get some of Glenn's job done. The only restriction here, I hope we have enough paint. Wow, he left me like 1 spoonful of paint, and he wants to paint, you know, well, there's a lot of stuff to paint there. Anyway, that's another thing we're going to deal with. I took the mirrors off the bike last night. One of them was scratched up pretty good here. We're gonna paint the mirrors while we have that apart. I wanted to paint them anyway. I don't like that writing on there. And I have another little trick I'm going to do to these. Now these, what I should have done, and I didn't do it, I should have roughened up this surface inside and put some sticky back sandpaper on both sides. I'm going to do that before. I'll show how I do that. That stiffens that up a little bit. And what it does, it makes it that you don't have to over tighten the bolts. So that's another good trick. So by the time we get the bike back together, the mirrors will be painted. That'll just be a nice little upgrade. Now, there's other things that while I'm taking it apart and putting it back together, I'm going to look for bolts that need a little bit of adjusting. So I don't know how many parts were bent in this tip over either. So the thing what I look for when I'm doing a crash damage repair, I always have what I call good news, bad news. Good news, this side of the bike is totally undamaged. Now, there's a couple of things you would think aren't a big deal. They're a really big deal. The first of the really big deals is, even though this has some scratches on it, which I can take out, I didn't crack the windshield. This is damaged, and this is a part that I had JB welded, and I'm going to really have to reinforce that. I can see that that's a vulnerable, see, that's cracked right through. This is down to the fiberglass. This is going to be challenging to fix. I do have a new decal. That's not a real problem. This part is going to have to be fixed. This, I don't know how much of this is going to have to be repainted totally. But what I can do is make a pattern for each one of these pieces as necessary. I'm going to obviously have to fill that all in. We have a spare decal. This is all chewed up to hell. It's right through the decal, so this is going to be challenging. The bottom didn't take much of a beating. The muffler is all caved in on one side, but those mufflers are only $80. But one thing the muffler did, and this is, you know, good news, bad news. Good news, this muffler sticks out quite a bit. It took a beating, but it didn't scratch the seat at all. Now, that means I don't have to repaint the seat. That's good news. Don't have to repaint the fuel tank. That's even better news. I don't even have to take them off the bike. What I do have to do is, this panel is going to require a lot of hours of work. This one, even more. The windshield will require to be buffed out. Front fender, no damage at all. Now, even though this, at this point in time, this really looks like a lot of work. It is a lot of work. But I don't see anything here that I can't fix. And that's always the criteria. If there's something I can't fix, I know you can still buy these parts from AirTech, but then I'm starting from ground zero. If I start with this part, I know this part already fits on the bike. So another thing saved my bacon, because I have wide handlebars on the bike, I can polish that out. That's no big deal at all. And I can polish this little part that got scratched. The wide handlebars, when the bike was laying over, the handlebars and the muffler acted like those spools that they put on the bike for crash damage. Now, I often think if I had spools on this, it might have saved some damage. But a lot of times the spools, then some other part of the bike, it tips over in a different way. So I don't know. I don't have an opinion about it. It's like 6 of one, half a dozen of another. So the first thing I have to do here, and this gets time consuming, I've got to strip the 3 pieces of the fairing off. I've got to take the other part off too. It's kind of redundant doing this. Get them down the cellar, get them degreased, and then take a really good look at how I'm going to fix this. And believe me, I have done this before. Now, it is to my advantage that I've taken the motorcycle apart so many times. Even when I first bought it, I had to take it apart. And the bike does come apart reasonably easy now, because I used to have all new hardware. This one is gouged up. We'll replace all the hardware, of course, and repolish it. But now I know the length of all the hardware, which I didn't know before, and I'll mark each one. And when you've I've noticed this anyway, when you've taken something apart once and you take it apart the second time, it goes a lot quicker. It's still a pain in the neck, but it goes a lot quicker. Now, one of the things, I guess Yamaha was pretty creative here about this, that this bolt right here, I wanted to show this, whoops. This bolt has a bracket behind it that bends upon impact. So they must have known, idiots like me are going to drop the bike. So it bends back. All I'm going to have to do is just bend that back. I don't even think I'll have to make any new hardware here. A couple more bolts out. This piece will be off, and this is the piece that's going to consume a giant amount of time. The front piece is a nightmare to get off because I've got to put a towel on a fender, there's bolts, and it's got to clear it. I got to disconnect the headlights. But there's no part of it that I haven't done several times, so it should go pretty easy. Now, it does make it just a little bit easier when all the hardware is nice and new and it's not all rounded off or edged off or whatever. It does make it a lot easier. So the time I spent making new hardware and replacing a lot of the rusty, some of the bolts were rounded off. Looks like now it's going to play to my favor. Not many things to my favor lately, but this is one. And the bad news is my back and one leg from the bike falling on it are still pretty sore this morning. So I'm going to take it easy. I'm not going to try to pull a macho man thing here. I'm going to take my time pulling this apart. Okay, so the first body part is off, and I can look at it. I'll take it down the cellar, of course, and evaluate where it has to be reinforced, fixed, repaired, sanded, ground, bondoed, JB welded, CA'd. We have our work cut out for us on that panel. So this is the fairing mount here that just needs to be tweaked just a little bit. And you can see it actually protected the frame. I could repolish that later. That's a pretty clever way they did that, I have to admit. That's pretty cool. Saved us in a crash. Nothing's needing to be done there. Well, maybe some scratching on there where the paint hit. But here, now I've got to pull the hole. I got to pull the other side off first. These are going to be difficult to repair, I can tell. These are going to be a problem. And I really, once I get the support, I need to see how much repairing has to go on in there. If that has to be fixed with carbon fiber from the back, yeah, it looks like it does. That's going to have to be internally done. So now, while I have it apart too, I got to pull the headlights out. That's another thing I got to think about. The sequence, see, this is the first time I've taken it apart the way I've got it all wired up now. It'll be a little bit easier because before I had a rat's nest in there. It's a little bit easier now that that's cleaned up too. Another really important thing, the way they designed the bodywork, nothing happened to the radiator, and that's a critical thing. That's not a little minor thing. If you dent or cave in that radiator, that can really ruin your whole day. And this is, somebody mentioned that they thought this was the wrong radiator. They're probably right. It's a curved radiator, and it shows that that's the radiator from a later model motorcycle, but who knows? Because again, we don't know the history of this. There might be other things on it. It might have a different swinging arm or whatever. Who knows? But I know right now, with the new forks on it, it handled it like it was on rails. The motor ran just like a brand new motor, so I was really happy. So in a way, I don't even mind doing this work because I know what's at the end of this tunnel. I'm going to have another... I already had a beautiful motorcycle up till yesterday. Oh, my knee is still hurting. Now, I guess the easiest way here to do this is pull the other lower panel next. I have to take, obviously I have to take it off. I'm trying to just confirm the sequence I want to do this in. Now, I was just thinking of something, as crazy as this sounds. There might be a time, and I've already done this, when I'd want to, in the future, just not have the front fairing on the bike and make like a little Triumph thing with 2 little headlights or something, like a little Street Fighter thing. But for right now, that's just a pipe dream. Thought I'd share that, something I've thought about in the past. Anyway, this panel, there's no work to do on this one. I just had to take it off to get the main fairing off. I'm trying to keep the hardware in order for which side went on which side, since each one of these bolts is relatively unique to its location. And one of the things, the switchback bulbs on our restoration, they just unplug now. That makes taking the upper fairing off a little bit easier. I have to disconnect this, of course. I don't want to just rush the thing here and forget that the switch has to be disconnected. And then we're 4 bolts, 2 on each side. We can take the whole top fairing off. Now these little scratches are small, and I don't know if they were caused by the crash or not, but as long as I got this apart, it's that thing I always try to do while something's apart. Clean it up, replace things, do some maintenance that otherwise you wouldn't be prone to do. Now we got the fairing parts that we need to work on off of this. I'm going to clean this up and put this away until we get, because we know see where we are now, that's really good. We know all these parts line up, fit, everything's good to go. So, oh yeah, that was worth doing. But I'm going to look around. I got to order another Dime City muffler. I hope they have a replacement. If not, I'll have to look around. That muffler has worked out so well over the years, and I really hate to get rid of it. $80 from Dime City. Anyway, yeah, I guess we're ready to put this away and get down to the cellar and start working. So we're ready to put the Street Fighter away for the time it's going to take us to paint the bodywork. But again, there's always some good news and bad. And good news is we didn't damage the tank, the seat, and I think part of that is having a wide handlebars on the bike. And that kind of protected it. And that Norton muffler certainly did a good job of protecting things too. It's almost uncanny how that happened. Anyway, down to the cellar. When I line these parts up in the shop, there's a funny line in The Godfather 3 that I remember. He says, just when I thought I was out, just when I thought I could go riding every day, they pull me back in. Well, but we never accept defeat. I'm going to get started. First thing is to pull that windshield. Now, this is a point in the job when sequencing up is going to be sometimes pretty difficult, because there's some times I'm going to want stuff to dry overnight. Sometimes I want paint to dry, I want glue to dry, body filler. So sequencing this up is going to be pretty challenging, but I know we'll be able to do it. Boy, I'm a cocky guy, ain't I? Now what I'm doing, I'm taking the windshield apart in reverse of the way I assembled it, because I don't want to in any way put a stress on this. It was hard enough to find this windshield, let alone if I crack it or damage it. A little bit of flitz is going to turn this windshield into a brand new windshield, I think. Famous last words. Now I'm not going to spend the time to do the flitz on this right now, because I don't have a clean buffing wheel. I want to take a brand new wheel. When I flitz this down, it's got a couple of scratches from, I don't know if they're from the accident or from the assembly or whatever, but this windshield, I kind of like the way. Now I did get to shoot video, of course, the video of the crash. That day I did shoot a lot of other video, and I looked at it to see if the camera shot through this plastic, because it's got a little bit of a blue tint to it. Here's a couple very small scratches here. I can get them all out too. That won't be a problem. The one thing, the Flitz does polish plexiglass beautifully. It also does the headlight, those clear plastic headlight things, pretty nice too. Just simple green. The number one job before I ever work on anything is get off, and I put a lot of wax on this. So this is not going to be a, it's going to be a difficult job to get it all off. I may have to do this 2 or 3 times, but I don't want to grind any of that in, and especially to the areas that I'm going to be repairing here. Good old simple green. If nothing else, it'll make the house disinfected. Smells like a hospital or whatever. Anyway, I did put a lot of wax on this and a lot of all the different polishing products. So first thing is to get all that off before we do anything, before we start evaluating how we're going to do this. After the simple green, I take the prep roll. Again, I'm just trying to get every single bit of the wax, oil, grease. We didn't even have one ride on this. You believe that? Well, you know what? If somebody else, if it saves their bacon, or if you pick up some finishing tips that may help you in the future, well, then it's not all totally in vain. But of course, I wish it was in vain here. I wish. Stop being a crybaby. Got to tough it out. You want to be a tough guy? Okay, so what we're going to do, the first thing here, I'm going to look at this part real close for any stress cracks. This whole side looks okay, to be honest. All of the damage is on this side. So what I think I'm going to do is get some 1000 grit paper, or 1200 maybe, and just, oh, it's all cracked over here, and scuff down The whole idea would be, put the cap on that, otherwise it stinks. The whole idea would be to scuff the whole part right now, and then I may be able to back mask this off and just work on this side. It looks like virtually all the damage is on that side, so maybe it is my lucky day. I don't know. This lucky day thing, I don't know how to deal with it anymore. Anyway, this is really broken severely, so that's going to be a big repair. That's going to be a structural. I'm going to have to get epoxy down in there, and I'm sure I will be able to Dremel away some of that old. Ooh, it went right through. We'll get it done. Don't worry. That's what they make JB Weld for. And when I'm done with this, I guarantee it'll be as good or better than new. Of course, on days like today, we need extra cups of coffee. Extra cups of coffee. Now, I always find it's really important to start, if I'm going to do a repair like this, no matter what I backmask and what I repaint, because in the end, it's all going to get clear coated. And whenever I've done it the other way, I've just worked over here, not sanded this, then backmasked this, and it just gets complicated. So I always think the best thing is degrease the part, prep all the part, and sand it. In this case, we're going to use 1000 grit. I cut up some sandpaper, some soapy water, and I'll get the whole part sanded with 1000 grit. So what I want, of course, is ultimately the whole part to be dull, 1000 grit, and that's usually what you would use if, as an example, if you had a brand new car and you wanted to put clear coat on it, or a wheel and you just wanted to clear coat it, 1000 grit is usually the sandpaper of choice. It's rough enough to leave a little tooth, and not so rough that you have to wind up putting 5 coats of clear on to get it to lay down again. So this will take a few minutes. It'll be worth it, because then we'll have a fresh part to start that structural repair. I guess starting on that end, as I'm thinking about it, that's going to be the biggest part of the repair, is that. And some of the pieces on the other side, I noticed that were really cracked. So getting always the thing of getting it apart clean, getting the structure done, and then the cosmetic, the blending and sanding and everything, which is, most people have the most difficulty with that last step. We'll find out how this works out, that's for sure. But as I always say, the purpose of all these videos is to share information, to share our passion for the world of motorcycling, and in case of model airplanes, the world of model planes. Sharing the passion is always been my goal, and I think so far it's worked out pretty good. So we're up around 5,000 subscribers. If you're one of them, that you can go backwards, you know, and look at some of those old videos. Don't look at that one where I crashed. You may not be that impressed. Anyway, but most people that have been riding motorcycles like I have, way over 50 years, and had 7 years of racing, and among other things, you're going to crash a few motorcycles. You fly model planes, there's almost nobody I know that competitively flew model planes for many, many years and didn't have a few. Oh, shit. It's true. Anyway, we're going to get this all, I'll get this sanded off camera. This take a half hour or so. Then I want to dig into that the structural part of this, because that's going to have to dry overnight. Now, I just had to run outside to get something for Karen, and it's over 70 degrees, and would be a great riding day if I didn't have to do this, but I really want to get this cooking, because the repair on this part is going to have to dry overnight before I can move on. So one way or another, I want to get this done. But it's really warm. Summer's coming. Green things are coming up in my garden. My fish are eating. And my bike is crashed. What's wrong with that picture? We're going to get it done. I'm inspired. I'm ready to go. And I'm thinking about exactly how I want to do this, the structural part of this. Now this landed, the whole weight of the bike landed right over there. So the fact that I had it all JB welded up to begin with, I guess, is in my favor, to a certain point anyway. But a repair like this, there's just no way you can rush through it. And if you just go Bondo that all up, it's just going to crack the paint somewhere down the road. We're trying to do this the right way. Now, if you look down here, you can see there are some cracks in the paint. These are just surface cracks. They don't go all the way through to the gel coat. And if I squeeze it like this, they open up. They tend to open up. So I'm going to show the method I use to repair this so that I don't have to sand all this down to bare fiberglass. And this pretty much works every time. So keep in mind, this is just a surface crack. This is not a structural crack. And what I'm going to do is take Brodak Thin CA, spread it on there. Because it's capillary, it's going to go down into all the little grooves and everything. And then right away, before it dries, wipe it. And then squeeze it back shut. So you know some has gotten in there. And you don't have a lot of extra sanding on the surface here. Just hold that. I'm squeezing it now the other way, squeezing it shut, not open. And then I'll resand this down with some 1000 grit. And as I spread this, see if it's still, nope, we got them sealed. So now it's this cracked area. What I'm going to do, I hit it with a hairdryer first, warm it up. Then I'm going to just drop some Thin CA in it. Thin CA is going to be capillary. It's going to get down inside and seal up all the fibers and give me a good bonding surface there for the rest of the material. Of course, this is going to be a structural fix. I want to this will get rid of any moisture that's in there, hopefully. And what will happen here, if I can get a new paper towel, what's going to happen is this is going to work its way in, even a drop at a time. It's going to seal this up and allow me to sand it. And whatever runs out over the paint, I'll just sand off anyway. So, but this will seal it, hopefully. And obviously we're going to have to do some serious sanding and filling here, but the capillary action of the Thin CA is your best bet here. In the next step on this, I got some 180 grit, really industrial grade sandpaper. This is really heavy duty stuff that we're going to use to grind that down. I have it just the size that a sanding block would be, a nice hard block. That's going to give me a smooth surface that I can carve that surface in little by little by little now. Now the way this works is you make some dust with the sandpaper. You put a drop of CA and just keep grinding it. And what happens, it turns into like a cement. And it makes, in essence, Bondo. So because what I'm trying to do is seal and just roughly shape this area. Again, I have a paper towel, Brodak CA, a brand new piece of sandpaper. What I'm going to do is just do a rough shaping. You can see the powder coming off? The powder is going to be my friend. The powder is now going down into all the little nooks and crannies of this repair and making what in essence is going to be Bondo. But the Bondo is going to be a lot stronger. I'm just putting some Thin CA on there. Now, what happens, it picks up all the stuff from sanding, the dust, the residue. So what I have to do is just constantly be changing the sandpaper. But this allows me to fill in the great majority of it with a material that's structurally strong, not the Bondo. Now, the glass-filled Bondo is a lot better than the not glass-filled Bondo you buy in AutoZone, but to be honest, neither one of them are like CA. So, again, this process, a little more time-consuming. As everybody that's ever worked in my shop knows, this is something I've done for many, many years. It's time-consuming, takes a little longer now. See, I can't use that piece of sandpaper anymore. Flip it. It also works in model airplanes with balsa wood. And I'm just going to keep shaping this area. Going back and forth, over and over and over and over. And I will get almost all of it done this way. There'll be a little bit at the end I may have to fill with some other material, but this is structural material. This is not Bondo. Now, I've been able to get 99% of the shape here just by going over and over and over with that CA, then adding coats of thick CA, letting the dust build up and commingle with that CA, and it's made me a super, super strong repair, hopefully. Now, even if the cosmetic part of this is not absolutely right, and of course I'll fix it from the inside too, at least I'm dealing with material that hopefully is not going to be weak Because these parts on any sport bike, they're prone to crack. They take a lot of abuse. And this one, we've reinforced it in a lot of ways, but you never can protect. And no bodywork I know is going to not crack, and you drop a 500-pound motorcycle and a 200-pound Bonzo on it. But the sanding block is the whole trick to get this, and just keep going back and forth with the CA over and over and over. And if at the end you're getting bored, yeah, you could put a little Bondo in, but I'm going to try to do this with no Bondo, just for exercise anyway. It's up over 70 degrees. I'm sure everybody in the world is out riding today, but I don't care. Yeah, that's coming out. I'm not sure if you can see it. That's coming out pretty nice. Okay, now that piece really came out. I'm not sure you can see it on the video, but that's, well, that's going to be our base of shape. We got the shape we want. We're not reinforced inside yet. I got one little thing here. I'm going to do exactly the same thing. Thin CA, thick CA, sand it in. Then I can sand this whole part down. Once that's done, then I can go into the back here, mix up some JB Weld and reinforce it from the inside. Now I decided before I put the JB Weld down, I wanted to put a little patch of glass. The glass is fine. I just want to get more strength in that area. That's where it's going to be prone to crack. Now I can go over that with a couple of coats of CA, do both sides, and then on top of that I'll put some JB Weld and let that dry overnight. Now I got just enough time to get on a coat of JB Weld. It'll do two things. Where I have the repair, stiffen it up a little bit and kind of bury the fiberglass cloth reinforcement on that. Two things that'll be real nice, and then I'll try to get some down in that joint, because I've got it sealed from this side. I can get it sealed from this side too. This has been a very aggressive day, and I think if I get this done today, I will get it done today. What am I talking about? I'll sleep well tonight knowing we're basically one of the two big parts is done. And then we're ready to start the refinishing process. Now I'm putting a JB Weld down. A flux brush is a good way to do it, and I want to use a little bit of heat. What did you just get a coat on here? This will stiffen it up just a little bit, make it a little bit nicer, a little bit better. Anything we can do at this point, we got it all ripped apart, we may as well do it. And knowing, well, hopefully now we've done this whole repair with no Bondo, so that we've stacked a deck that maybe, if it's a lucky day, we won't get any cracks. No, that's yet to be seen. Or if we knock it over, it'll stand up like a kickstand. Who knows? I don't know. We're going to find out. It's the mystery of motorcycling. Anyway, I know you've sat through what might be a pretty boring video, and if you've gotten to this point, we're going to pick this up tomorrow. Until I get paint drying, I guess I'll be pretty aggressive about this. Worked a lot more than a normal 4 hours on this today. Now what I do, I want to get this, just show this good little trick anyway with JB Weld. Warm it up just a little bit. It gets a little bit better bite. As soon as you see it getting shiny, when it gets shiny, you're done. And just let it sit. And that should reinforce it even a little extra. Well, this day finally came to an end. Our JB Weld is drying. Our reinforcements, our rough sanding. We're going to pick this up tomorrow. It's a pretty aggressive day. I usually never do this much work in one day because I always think there's no point in rushing. Well, the only problem is here. Summer's here. It's 72 degrees out there right now. I feel like going out for a ride, but it's already too late. But I'll sleep good tonight knowing this is done. So, hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope if you ever have something like this happen, you got some information that'll be of value to you. Again, thanks for watching, and we'll pick this up tomorrow.